Hi, Nick.
Hi, Greg. Hey there, beer tubers. Welcome back to Maxwell Star's Beer Reviews. Back at you tonight for another episode of Bring Your Own Beer. Beer Analysis 101, of course. Except for we're all bringing our own stuff tonight. And tonight we're all doing Saisons because it's now Saison summer season. And hey, it's time to look at a style we just haven't had. I happen to have a bottle of, and everybody else had a bottle of, and let's do something. Anyway, moving right along, let's introduce the people who are with us tonight, starting with Mr. Ashley Sexnomicron.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Hopefully everyone's doing great, enjoying a tasty beer. And Nick, how are you? Thank you.
I'm not doing too bad. What'd you bring with you tonight?
Oh, I have Saison Dupont.
Ooh. Can you guys get that in Ontario regularly? Or did you just happen to have that?
No, yeah, it's a shelfie around here. $2.90.
Cool.
Usually available.
I was actually thinking it'd be cool to do a full-on BA101 of that at some point, but we can talk about that another time.
Easy to get.
Yep. All right. Moving on to Mr. Greggy Poo. How are you doing tonight? First of all, what did you bring? Not a bubbly.
I'm doing great, sipping my bubbly. And I also brought a Saison DuPont. Actually, I didn't. I brought something from GLB. I brought No Chance with Miranda, barrel-aged Saison. Not to be confused with a non-barrel-aged Saison. And this is, for some reason, this is now at the LCBO, but it's not at the GLB brewery.
Weird.
Even though it only got released like 3 weeks ago. So, so that's interesting. Sweating like hell. It's gross.
Just like your testicles.
Here, Jamie. Here you go, Jamie.
Yeah. All right. Let's move over to Mr. Craig from the UK. How are you doing tonight, Craig? Nice hat.
Very well, thanks. Yeah, well, you know, just haven't been for a haircut yet. But yeah, it's
COVID cut.
It's that kind of deal. Yeah, it's just I'm gonna give it a while. But yeah, so I've got a beer from the Colonel Brewery in London, and this is their Beer de Saison Damson. It's a blend of new and old saisons fermented in a tank with 350 gallons of British damsons for 4 months. So damsons, it's like a plum. It's just it's one of them kind of deals. It's sort of slightly different type of plum that's grown here in the UK. So yeah, it's coming in at 4.6%. So yeah,
interesting. 4.6. That's actually. I haven't even talked about like a history of the style or anything yet, but usually saisons were typically brewed with a lower ABV, and now today they've kind of taken on a meaning of higher ABVs for some reason. They're supposed to be lower.
Now let's bring Chad the albino rhino on here to discuss this for the next hour and how it's no good.
Yeah, totally. All right. Nice. Sounds like a good beer. Speaking
cheers
of
for me anyway.
Wait, what?
Cheers for having me on.
Oh, always, dude.
So Nick,
anytime we can have you on.
Thank you.
All right. Anyway, for me, I brought my something from Niche Brewing up near Fredericton, New Brunswick. This is Bridget, a barrel-aged saison with rhubarb. It's barrel-aged in, I believe, Chardonnay barrels. So, like I was saying to Ash before the show, I brought myself an entire roll of paper towel in case this blows up. But Chardonnay tends to be a little lively. So, but I did happen to have a chance to review this previously on my channel, so I'll talk about it when we give histories on these beers. But anyway, so moving right along, we actually have a couple of comments there. Any volunteers other than Greg to read?
Aww.
You're muted, Ash.
Of course I'm muted. I'm new to this, just so you know. So rating on your praise in the chat says, cool, just happened to have a Saison on the fridge. It is a collab between Allagash and Brasserie Dupont.
Ooh.
It is a year old, and I think I remember it going downhill. When it was fresh, it was awesome. And it is called Brewers Bridge. And, yeah.
Interesting. That actually sounds really cool.
So it's a collab with this brewery.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I believe
Interest.
that people do occasionally just have saisons back in the fridge.
There we go.
You gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta look back there. You never know what's in there.
Gotta go do some digging.
I know what's in there.
Nice. Actually, that's kind of cool. I like the idea that Allagash, and Allagash, I've had a few Allagash. It's been a while since I've had something from them over the years, but it's nice to see them collaborating with like Saison. Like Dupont is like the archetype of the style. I mean, Saison's a traditional style and everything, or Saison Dupont. It's a traditional style, but it was the Saison Dupont, from Dupont that really reignited the style. Yeah, no. I'll stop talking here. I'm bungling up the story.
No, it's keep on going. It's just now I'm not front and
All
center.
right. Saison Dupont. When it came out, it was kind of like a reinvigorated style. It's like Blue Garden for the whip beer style. When they came out, they kind of reinvigorated a traditional style, kept it alive, and it's basically the one that they copied. And that's kind of one of the reasons. It's one of those beers that I find the history on a little bit fascinating. So it'd be kind of cool to do a beer analysis on that at some point. But I will say, good news is that mine didn't blow up. Anyway.
Mine.
Anyway, so cheers rating on your parade. Good to have you. Glad you have a Saison. So let's move along back over to the panel here and see what's the history with the beer that you bought. Like, what is your personal history with the beer you brought?
I don't have a history. I don't think I've had this before, to be completely honest. If I have, I didn't tap it, but I haven't been tapping much over the last year and a half anyway. So I don't know. I probably had it like 3 weeks ago and I just forgot. Like, I don't know. But I honestly haven't had too many saisons lately either. Outside of I homebrewed some. It wasn't a saison, but it was a single. But it has its similarities to a saison. So as I'm smelling it, it's sort of reminding me of the homebrew I made. But this just smells better. But to the best of my knowledge, I've never had it before, and really in general, I just haven't had too many saisons recently. So that's it. Actually, sorry, I just had a saison 2 weeks ago. It was the Loganberry saison from Brimstone, and I didn't like it.
The Last Ride or whatever it was?
Last Ride, yeah. The Last Ride Loganberry saison. And I didn't like it all that much. So, but whatever. It is the way it is.
All right. Cool. All right, move over to Greg. What's your history with the beer you brought?
Well, this specific history, I'm trying to figure out because they made a few versions of this. So I'll give you a brief synopsis of the beer, very, very brief. This is an old school beer. No chance with Miranda's. It's a beer that's been around longer than I've been into craft beer, so at least before 2012. And story comes from most of GLB's beers have a story behind them, and this one was there's some local pub or something where a lot of people used to hang out. And there was a bartender there named Miranda or a waitress or something, and she used to get hit on a lot because I guess she was hot, but then she never went with anyone. So I don't know if it was because she was not into guys or she's just not into those guys, but apparently those guys had no chance with Miranda. So they made a saison about it. So this is a fun history for you. This particular barrel-aged one, now this is different because there's no Untapped for this one. This is the 2020 release. I have had this once before the 2019 release, but that was 5.5% ABV, and this one is 6.7. So it's not the same beer. So technically, I've never had this particular beer before, but I've had the regular No Chance Miranda. I've had the newer one that I think has changed up a little bit. I've had there's a conditioned one, a bottle conditioned version, and which I've also had. And then there's the barrel aged one this year, barrel aged last one. One I have not had, which I wish I had had, although I think it was probably a very small release. It was an Imperial Saison, 10.6%, called No Pants with Miranda.
What? Of course, you pick up on that.
Yeah, so that looks like a good one to have.
Ooh,
So GLB, in case you're watching this, you should re-release that, and I will do a pantsless review of it.
It'd be kind of be kind of like yeah, it'd be kind of like if you got her to drink a couple of the 10% beers, she might not have any pants.
You know what? I was gonna say it sounds just a little bit rapey, but
yeah, let's not go there.
I'm sure it wasn't meant that way. But we are in kind of a certain climate, so
yeah. All right, so moving on to Craig. What's the history with the beer you brought?
No, I've never had this before. I don't know how many times I actually brought this out from the Colonel Brewery. Beer the Saison. Focus sort of good. There we go. So this is a 4.6. A lot of these beers that this brewery does, the ABV varies slightly. They don't stick to any one. It's just how it turns out, kind of thing. So as it says on the back of the bottle, a blend of Saisons fermented in a tank of 350 gallons of whole British damsons for 4 months. It's got the old bottling dates and all sorts of bits and pieces on it, like they normally do.
Wow.
February.
Yeah, so 4 months. So the difference between a damson and a plum, what I can remember is I think it's the shape. I think traditional plums are a little bit bigger than damsons, and apparently I think something along the lines of they're okay for freezing. Damsons, it's probably to do with the climate in the UK compared to other parts of Europe.
Just adding that, there's some picture of some damsons right there.
Yeah,
like plums.
Kind of like plums. They look like maybe a little oblong and smaller.
Yeah, but I mean they're more adaptable to sort of any kind of cold frost and stuff. So, which is cool. But so yeah, the beer in a glass. Yeah, you're probably thinking, oh, look at that. But then if it's brewed with that, then you expect it. So this is a blend of old and new Saisons before it's gone into the tank with the damsons in. And it looks quite murky, quite sort of like a slight muddy sort of, almost sort of cranberry type, dark cranberry look, I'd say. Not had this at all before. I've had a few other variants of the bearded Saisons this year from the same brewery, but not this one. But we'll see how it goes in a minute.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds good. I look forward to hearing your tasting notes after this. All right, let's go over to moi and see if I can bungle up my speech on Niche's Bridget. I've had a number of beers from Niche over the years. Can't remember, it was like 2016 or something when they first came out, but Bridget is a relatively new one from them. They released a similar one last year called Evolution, which I also reviewed for my channel, but this one here is it's laid up almost the same way. It's barrel aged on Chardonnay barrels, and then it has rhubarb added, which I imagine everybody here knows what rhubarb is. If not, it's like a leafy kind of weed-like plant with big, thick red stems with a very tart, juicy flavor. And kind of you can either eat them raw or you can bake them into things like rhubarb pie and all that kind of stuff. Which is I'm not really a big fan of it. I like the like eating it raw, but it's not something I really like in a pie. Just don't like the overly sweet flavor. But in a beer, this is pretty cool. As I mentioned, I reviewed this previously on my channel, and this is my second bottle of it. And I was saving it for an occasion such as this. So far, I've liked basically everything that Niche has put out, even if one of them did blow up on my lap one time. Which is kind of why. Tell us how you feel about that. Yeah, I have some apprehensions. All right, so let's go over to let's bring up Mr. Ash again.
Yeah, so we got Lee in the chat saying olives are stone fruits. Sorry, Greg, just accept it. I put them on everything, so I'm extra healthy now. And then Teku Murray is in the chat. He says Nick is a stoned fruit.
Up here.
It's a interesting statement.
I wish Lee would be a little more thoughtful of my feelings and not just be so rough about things. You know,
Fuck
Gentle,
your
Lee.
feelings, man. Fuck your feelings. And then, Craig, you're just saying, oh, Damson. Oh, I typed in with everyone drinking, and Craig replied.
It's not wrong.
Thanks for continuing the conversation, Craig. You're
not me. Sorry, I didn't realize.
Well, I thought that maybe Lee would tell us he's drinking a Propeller IPA or a Propeller ESB. I was waiting for Ewart to say he's drinking a bottle of. He was either going to be a triple or a bottle of water, and not too sure if Raining on Your Parade got killed by his beer or not. But sort of interested to see how that one turned out. And then Lee says, "You like it rough, Greg? I'm drinking Grolsch." Interesting. There we go. And a can or a sweet top or what? That's it.
Save Big Papa Love.
Nick's typing out his tasting notes.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who are wondering,
I'm not.
I will.
I'll do it off the cuff.
Do you want me just to go into my thoughts on the beer?
Yeah, you know what? I'll put you full screen. We can. I should be done by the.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not rushing you. I just wasn't too sure if you want to go into notes or you want to shoot the shit or what.
Well, I was just gonna say shoot the shit for a bit while I type this
shoot
shit
the
up,
shit.
but it doesn't matter. I mean, by the time you guys are done shooting the shit, I'll probably be ready.
Have you had that before, Ashley? I assume you have.
Saison DuPont? I don't think so.
Really?
I thought so because I see it all the time, but I don't think I've ever had it.
Yeah, that's the classic shenanigans for this style, really. It's the one most well known, I'd say.
Well, yeah, I recognize as being something that's always around and it's well regarded. I think the name's very familiar, obviously, but yeah, I don't think I've ever had it. So this one is a 6.5%. Ingredient list is your standard run-of-the-mill stuff. As with a lot of Belgian beers, they added some extra sugar to it. It is a bottle conditioned, so luckily for me, it opened up nicely. It didn't burst out of the bottle, but on the pour, it was very aggressively carbonated. But I should have known that anyways. The aroma, it's I'm not the biggest fan of Saisons, but what I do appreciate is that whether or not it's the aroma or the flavor or the mouthfeel, there's different layers to it. Saisons always, bring a lot of different notes to the party, which is, quite nice, especially if it's a beer that you're just going to sit down and sip for a little bit. As it warms up, you'll get different notes and stuff. But on the nose, I get an ever so slight hint of like a strawberry bubblegum, just very slightly, but it has a nice prominent like peppery yeast note to it, which is nice. Any malt presence that's there, it's very light, the malt presence on the aroma, but that pepper comes through nicely, which is something I enjoy in a lot of like farmhouse styles or Saison styles. I just like that nice peppery yeast component to it. The sip's very effervescent, sort of, part and parcel with, adding a nice dose of sugar to the, at the end, dries it out and gives it a big, bright, effervescent carbonation to it. It's thin. It's thin, but that's what you expect out of a Saison. They're supposed to be a refreshing, drying beer, right? That peppery note sort of comes through on the sip. On the back end, there's a little bit of a weird bitterness to it. I'm not too sure where bitterness to it. I'm not too sure how I feel about that right now, but we'll see how it is as it warms up. It's nice though. It's the malt comes through a little bit more on the sip. Just standard like white bread crust. Pepper, not like there's a slight alcohol burn to it, but it's not very noticeable, and it's not turning me off or anything like that. Overall, very easy drinking, pretty enjoyable. Not a big fan of that bittering, but we'll see what happens as it goes on. They actually stamp the bottles. Now, I don't know if they stamp the bottle. No, they can't do that. The bottle was made in 2018. What was this? This was best before is 2022. So I don't know. Maybe they just give these like a 3-year. So it's not that old. Maybe a year. I don't know. Overall, good beer, good representation of the style. Yeah, I think whoever mentioned it earlier, Albino Rhino hates these higher ABV saisons, but for what it is, it's very, very enjoyable. They hide the alcohol well, and yeah, I can see how this is sort of looked upon as one of the standards of the style for a higher ABV. So for overall, I'm enjoying this. I'm going to enjoy the crap out of this one too. I'll give it an 8.75, and I'll probably echo the sentiment for. So that's for personal enjoyment, and you know what? I'll just say that for style as well. I'll give it an 8.75.
Wow, not bad. All right, let's move over to Greg because we all care what Greg thinks.
No one cares what I think about saisons because I don't like saisons. And then you barrel age them. So I did look up. This is barrel aged in Chardonnay barrels. So
Nice.
Two Chardonnays.
Not rhubarb in it. I bet you this would be better. As it is, it's very dry. It's a very dry beer. It's not very refreshing. It's you get a bit of a grapey, winey smell as you probably would expect. And when you take a sip, it just, I don't know, it's just kind of very peppery. There's still a little bit of grapiness to it. Not a ton of carbonation, although I thought it was going to explode when I first opened it, and then it turned out to be false alarm. Don't worry, Nick. I also think it's just too high in alcohol. To me, it tastes boozy, whether the flavors make me think that or whether it actually is boozy. But I think I might actually agree with Chad that this might be better if it was more of a traditional ABV or something like this. Yeah, overall don't love it. It's not terrible either. It's just kind of there. I probably wouldn't, especially since I do think this bottle was like $8, so I don't think I'd be too keen to buy it again. I don't even know what the style for like a barrel aged saison. I can't even think of any I've had other than that. So I don't know. For a barrel aged saison, it could be a 0 out of 10, could be a 10 out of 10. I don't know. So it's I'm just gonna give it a 6.5 all around for both style and personal preference. It's not terrible, but it's on the kind of low end of good for me.
Ouch.
Before you go, Greg,
I'm Greg. Hi.
did you when you did your Little Beast order, did you get their Imperial Saison?
I think I may have. I'd have to look it up.
I think I did too, because that was a barrel aged 10-point-some% Saison.
I would have to look it up. I kind of think I did actually, but I'm going to look it up now, and I'll let you know that.
It was called Freya. Pretty sure.
I think I did have that one. Yes, I don't particularly remember if I liked it or not though.
Well, I'm going to go by Greg's rating. Sounds like Miranda has no chance with Greg.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm totally fine with the 6.5.
All right. So let's go over to Craig and see, what did you think of your beer?
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's one of them kind of styles. They're hit and miss, I think, with a lot of people. It's like a Marmite style, and then you add a bit of fruit to it, and then it's like, how are you going to react to that? Yeah, I think this is good. It's very dry. It's funky, but it's quite tart as well. You drink it, and it's got like you get the obvious kind of like dry. It's almost like plum skins. Overall kind of feel dry, a little bit of oak underlying that, maybe from the barrel. And then there's some residual sweetness on the palate, on the tongue, right at the very end when you kind of, it's just, not residual. But apart from that, obviously no hint of the ABV. If you like plums, then you're going to like this. It's one of them kind of deals. It's not bad. I've had other versions of the beer the Saison, because it's like a range of beers they do. I prefer others compared to this. But this is it's a nice change up, if you like. I'm all right for the straight up Saisons, without adding anything else to it. More of the natural kind of like beer the Saison is on its own is pretty good. They've done like different hop varieties. They've done like a Bramling cross version of this, traditional sort of British hop version. That was really good. But yeah, your beer, Ashley, that's probably a good starting point, I'd say. Although the ABV is higher than a lot of kind of the traditional Belgian Saisons, it's still pretty damn good, if you ask me. If you like Saisons, it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
This one, really good, but not as good as others they've done. An 8 out of 10 for both style and enjoyment. Nothing wrong with it. It's just down to what you like at the end of the day. Don't go and buy it if you don't like plums and stuff. It's like pointless. Like any beer, isn't it? You see things, it's got tastes like plums. Yeah, it's got it on the front. That kind of deal.
Yeah, it's got it on the label.
They just love. What'd you buy it for then, you idiot? Yeah, 8 out of 10. Or 4 out of 5 on Untapped if you do that sort of thing. But yeah, nice beer.
Very nice. And I picked up on that the Bramling Cross that you mentioned. That's the same hospital in Ruddles County. It was like a British bitter that I had a long time ago.
Yeah, very traditional, earthy, hedgerowy type hop. Sort of blackberry kind of Bramling Cross. I mean, that's half the idea. But yeah,
nice.
Cheers.
All right, let's get over to moi, and I'll go read the speech that I have written up here. All right. So I'm going to use some flavor notes that I have not used in quite some time on this thing here because it's bringing it out in me. From the aroma, I'm getting this like nice, lightly tart, minus aroma, kind of. You do tell it's wine barrel aged. It's lightly grainy, along with a hint of horse blanket. It's got that funky kind of like barnyard kind of thing going on. Very effervescent carbonation on it. The taste is like nice white wine with a yeasty funk, tangy, briny white grapes, oaky woodiness. The rhubarb comes through and it complements the Chardonnay with puckering tartness. Not creamy, but it is very soft, medium light body to it. Lingering tart, tannic, dry finish with an almost barnyard blue cheese kind of funk to the back as it fades. There's no booze in this for 7% ABV. The only downside I got to say is like it's compared to other Saisons that you guys are having, maybe it's because it's the barrel aging process took it out. I just don't feel like I'm getting a lot of there's no pepper on this thing. There's almost nothing that really tells me it's Saison other than the fact it's very light body. Either way, I still like it. I still think the treatment of this works extremely well with the Saison style because it kind of matches. It's not like you wouldn't bourbon barrel age or whiskey barrel age a Saison. It would just be gross. This is the Chardonnay kind of fits well where it's got this nice light body. It works really well and can stand to be dry. So for the style, I'm going to still give it an 8. It loses a couple of marks because it's kind of like some Saison characteristics and I'm not really getting so much, but I don't mind because of how much the rest of it matches up. That is super delicious, and that's getting a 9 for me.
Nice.
It's really carbonated. Really carbonated, that.
Like still after gone through the entire bottle, it's still got quite a bit of carbonation left in it. And also very turbid too.
No,
It's creamy.
yeah, it's coating the glass pretty well.
Yeah, it's coating the mouth, but I wouldn't call it like creamy like you get like a stout or a good stout or a New England style IPA. It's kind of like a little bit wetter than that, but it's still got a very nice light carbonated body. I really like this. This is super tasty.
Now, did they say, like, the moment you said wet blanket, I thought in my mind, like, did they do like a mixed culture fermentation on it? Like, did they say what kind of yeast they used? Did they use different variations or?
Yeah, it says the beer is inspired by all the strong, caring, and amazing women in our lives. It's like some kind of women's lib beer. Bridget is a saison fermented with our house culture. Saccharomyces and Brettanomyces yeast.
Yeah, so okay, Brett. There you go. Yeah.
Brett's. So
yeah. See, and that's the thing. So, like a lot of those, like those peppery notes, a lot of those bubblegum notes, I find will just come out of a clean, like Saison style or Belgian style yeast. But then once you add Brett to it, yeah, you're gonna get that saddle and that wet blanket, right? So.
Yeah, in this case, it's you've got not only the Saccharomyces, Brettanomyces, you also got wait if there's any kind of residual yeast in the Chardonnay barrels.
Oh yeah,
I mentioned, I had a bottle of the previous kind of edition of this, the one without rhubarb called Evolution, that was also brewed with the same yeast strains and Chardonnay barrel aged. It was like the first time they made it, and the moment I opened it right up, I lost half the bottle through carbonation. It just blew the hell up.
Just blew it up. Eh?
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. What beer was that?
It was Niche Evolution. This one's Bridget. This is the most recent iteration.
Yeah.
And the first one they made was called Evolution.
And it was a saison as well.
It was a Chardonnay barrel aged saison as well, treated almost the same way. I don't know necessarily sure if the recipe's any different, but it's the same idea.
But no rhubarb though.
No rhubarb.
There we go.
Hey, anyway,
cool.
Yeah, it was just like that one. I lost half the bottle on me because it all depends. Like that, those barrel aged could be barrels. Chardonnay barrels can be pretty lively.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go over to. I'll bring you up, Ashley, just because there might be more comments there.
Sure. Oh wow! Look at that hair, eh? Man, I need to get a fucking cool hat like Craig has, or I need to get a big bald head like Greg has. I got to do something because this is unacceptable.
Well,
Greg's been trying to Sexton for so long. Sexton wants to be like Greg.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I was going to get a nice warm jacket. He'll be so happy.
There we go. Be so happy. Raining on Your Parade says, yep, nope, it is awesome. It was brewed in Belgium in bottle conditioned. Would not have been as good if it was brewed at Allagash. Classic Belgian Rocky Head goes down like apple pear juice. And you know what? I honestly wonder if this was, and he says it's 6.5%, which is exactly what this is. So, like, I almost like, what did Allagash add to it? You know, they go all the way there to brew a beer. What do they, you know, for a collaboration? Like, I don't know. Change the hops up. I don't know. Collaborations are funny. Like, what do they actually do? You know? So 6.5%. So Rating on Your Parade, happy. It sounds good. That's awesome. Lee says Nick feels inspired. What a wanker.
Mm-hmm.
Nick is trying to out Sexton. He is failing. That's rude.
That's Greg.
Not the rudest thing I've ever said.
Lee Russell is curious. Is it dank? I'm assuming based on when that came up, he's asking Nick if his beer is dank. Would it go with some smoked cheese, perhaps? Maybe some smoked Gouda?
Probably would go really good with smoked Gouda.
Probably would go. Smoked Gouda, I'd say, would be perfect pairing, says Greg.
It's true.
Lee says, total 2010 beer tube show-off review. Oh, geez. Wow. Nick, what did you do to these guys? Rod's in the chat. Cheers, guys. Cheers, Rod.
Cheers, Rod.
Hope
You're
all
still
is well
watching.
down in your country, which I hope we never open the border up to again, unless it's to let you in. You can come all you want. Just keep everyone else out.
Just you, no one else, and we're gonna.
As long as you go through a 2-week quarantine, you can come up, spend 2 weeks quarantining, and then we'll drink.
Nick's house is great for quarantining.
Oh God. Okay, then Greg's just saying some random shit. A little bit better than that. Nick 2020 wetter, whatever.
I wetter. I screwed up. I'm humiliated.
Lee and Rod are shaking each other's dicks, and then Rod says, "Trade me for Red." So you know what? Yeah. So Red can go down south, lose his mind. We'll bring Rod, and he'll class the joint up, and then watching Redbeard lose his mind down the States would be awesome.
God. For Redbeard.
Could you imagine all the Facebook fun he would have in whatever city he landed in, and he joined their local Facebook page, and he could just grab or correct everyone?
We'll put Redbeard right in the middle of like Alabama or something. He'd probably get heard.
It'd be brilliant. Or if he can
imagine our poor neighbors that would have dog poop thrown into their backyard.
Right?
Yeah.
God.
He'll get shot. He'll get shot.
Yeah, that's true. He probably would get shot. Okay, let's not put him into a state where they're like, wait, there's no state where that wouldn't happen. So
they would look at his dog turds as clay shooting.
Poor Redbeard. Trade me for Red. Yeah. Rod, we're gonna trade you for Red.
It's a good trade. For being honest.
I think it's a great trade. It's awesome. That's all I got.
That's everything. All right.
Thanks for the comments, everyone.
So now we gotta shoot the shit until we wait to see who asked the magic question for the night.
There's one.
What?
Well, no, we have to go through and say which one we'd prefer to have.
Yes, let's do that. All right. So start with that. Of the 4 beers that were here tonight, what would be the one you'd want to go with?
Mocker things that you can see.
First off, not Greg's. He just didn't speak so well about it. I
don't have mine either.
I was very curious about Craig's because I've never had that fruit before, but it looked a little murky. It looked like murky doo-doo water. But so I'm going to go with yours, Nick. I love rhubarb. I'm a true Canadian. I love rhubarb. I especially love it in pies with strawberry. And I've brewed with rhubarb before a few times. So I know that nice tartness that you can get from rhubarb when it's well, if I could do it, then anyone can do it. I'm not going to say when it's done well because I can't do that well, but
you can do it well.
I put rhubarb in a beer once with strawberries and it turned out fantastic. So I'm going to go with yours because rhubarb rocks.
Nice.
You're literally the best sexton in this chat.
I'm the only one.
Can't out sexton. All right, so let's move over to Mr. Miranda. Greg, of all the beers here tonight, what would you rather have?
Well, I certainly would rather not have mine. So there's number one.
No chance.
Now let's see. Truthfully, the one I know is the best is probably Ashley's because it stays under palm. It's freaking delicious. And it's probably better than all the beers here. But since I've had that one before, Nick sounds good. I think fruit adds a lot to this type of beer because it makes it like boring, like that, to something a little more interesting. If you had the right fruit, blueberries is not the right fruit. Now, Nick's not interesting, but the fact is, I'm worried that Nick's beer inspired him too much. I don't want to have to drink a beer and then have to give it 25 minutes speech about why it's good. You either really like the beer or you don't like it, but you're overcompensating because you paid too much for it. So, as usual, and plus Craig's beer looks like it has testicles in it. So, Craig it is. Bring on Craig's beer.
You go over the testy beer.
Go over the blue testicles.
Oh, God. All right, so, Craig, you have to follow that up. Are you doing the check your testicles for lumps?
Yeah, just a little.
Do a little pat.
arthritis. You know, it's just, no, it's I don't know. Yours sounds interesting, Nick, but it didn't look. I don't know. Just to me, it didn't. You know, for a saison. I don't know. It looked really kind of creamy and quite carbonated, and normally with saisons that kind of cuts out straight away. I've obviously had Saison Dupont a few times. Greg's, you can't really go with what Greg says because he doesn't like the style.
It's like having Redbeard here talking about saisons.
It's difficult though, isn't it? You can't really. I don't know. It's tricky because I can get Saison Dupont, so pretty much, and they're really price-wise, they're ridiculously cheap. For, you know, if you like saisons, the quality of it is the price point is just certainly here. I don't know what it is the rest of the world, but yeah. Well, even in Canada, by the sounds of it, it's really cheap.
$2.90 for that bottle.
That's fairly cheap, isn't it? I would have thought.
That's pretty cheap for this beer, yeah.
Yeah,
For this quality.
Got the DuPont.
So I mean, I can get that any time, and I'd probably go for that. But just out of shits and giggles, probably Nick's beer, to be honest, because it's rhubarb anyway. It grows quite frequently up north, and that sort. I've had one or two rhubarb beers before. Sours. I think I've had a sour rhubarb beer before. That's pretty good. So yeah, be interesting. What was it? Barrel aged or anything? I can't remember what you said, Nick.
Yeah, Chardonnay barrel aged.
Yeah, you went on. Yeah, you did so. Yeah. No, I muted it. So yeah, probably
Sorry, I'm
that.
checking my phone.
Yeah. So yeah, probably that, Nick. I'll probably go for Nick's. Just out of curiosity.
Nice. All right, and I guess that brings over to me, and I'm probably going to return the favor because I've had Saison Dupont, like that beer. I've already covered that. I'd like to do that sometime. I've actually had. It's probably not exactly the same one Greg's had because I did have a chance to try 3 years ago the No Chance of Miranda on tap at the GLB Brewery.
Probably the regular one.
Yeah, which I think is just it's just a regular Saison. I still remember liking it, but it wasn't. I guess I'd be kind of curious to try it with barrel aged.
I think the regular one is better than the barrel aged, from what I remember.
Well, either way. Anyway, I guess the biggest one I would try to try is by default Craig's beer because I've never had a British Damson before. And you're talking about a nice beer, take on the Saison that actually is flavored with some kind of interesting flavored plum-like fruit. So it's actually sounds pretty interesting to me. So, okay, I would go with Craig's beer, and I'm going to stick to that answer. All right, there we go.
And, for the style, I almost wonder, like, if you're just talking about Saisons as a style in general, like, a lot of them that we get are bottle conditioned, right? So I honestly wonder, you have the exact same beer that was bottle conditioned versus one that was, force carbed or whatever, on tap. I wonder if which one would, be better. Like for me, like, I don't know. I think bottle conditioning sort of adds a certain je ne sais quoi to beers. It sort of changes them a little bit because that fermentation just keeps on happening. It's a little je ne sais quoi, right? So I wonder if that's something that is just better with saisons, the fact that they're bottle conditioned. And, I don't know. Just a thought. You just don't see too many. Like a lot of Ontario brewers, like not a lot of them will make saisons and have them widely distributed. So I don't really know what a lot of people do with their saisons. So, but I love bottle conditioned beers. That's just me.
Yeah, and you know what? Usually, if you see a beer that's kind of like a Saison in Ontario, it's usually some gimmicky beer that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Like
what was it? We did one recently that was, or I had one recently. It was from Moosehead. It was a Saison that sucked. Anyways,
come on, Moosehead made it. Oh, from their small batch.
It was a Moosehead small batch beer that sucked.
Yeah. I can guarantee you that wasn't bottle commissioned.
It was rose hibiscus or something. I reviewed it last week.
Oh yeah, look at that Merc.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Merc. That looks like a blueberry milkshake or some shit.
I just added some water and swirled it.
All right, so there's comments there, and I'll get Mr. Ash to read them.
So yeah, Lee says, what's next week's beer? And then Basement says Ashley Frenchton.
Je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi.
Mr. Sexton has a little bit of je ne sais quoi. Oui, oui.
With my hair wings floating out the back. It's like a quasi mullet.
So while we're making fun of the French, we're gonna go Italian and next week and have a Peroni. Yes, throw zero.
Bloody hell.
So next week's beer is gonna be Peroni, and we'll have to count. Maybe next week's beer may not be, depending upon how many people end up washing their hair.
Nick, your accent offends me.
You always find me offensive, Greg.
I do.
It's like
You always find me offensive, mainly because I'm offensive when I say offensive shit.
Lee took offense to your review of the Moosehead Rose Hibiscus, and he says the Rose Hibiscus was okay. Neck.
Okay.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your face. Yeah, well, I got a crumpled can over here that says otherwise. Biatch.
And Jamie says Craig's beer looks like Barney's Love Sauce or Grimace, whichever. Purpley.
I love you. You love me.
That's gross.
We just jizzed in a beer tea. All right, that's too far.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, all right. So I think that's probably about enough there. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Ash. Thanks, Greg, for coming on.
Yeah.
Especially Greg, who shows up every single week for almost 3 years.
I know. It's like I got nothing better to do or no one better to do.
I don't know about no one, but at least one time a week, every week, you come out and grace us with your presence. But
I'd like to just think I've just replaced the fuzz as Nick's best friend.
yeah, that ain't it. All right, so yeah, as far as the people in the chat, we got thank you, Jamie, Lee, Rod J,
Rainy on your
parade. Who else was in here?
Ewart was very momentarily.
Yeah, we never thank him though.
Then he had to go take all 25 of his pills.
All 25 of his pills.
Well, it's 9 o'clock
big
now.
Container with like a big container that has the days of the week written on him. He has to take Wednesday's pills.
It's his dry toast and prune juice time. So
Gotta get that prune juice in.
All right. Thanks for watching. We're going to come back possibly with an after chat in a little bit. We'll talk to you folks in then.
cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.